Hi, Steve Gamache here with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review, and what we have this time is the Yamashin Aogami or Blue number 2 Bunka 165mm knife. So this line of knives has a 3-layer construction. The center hardcore cutting edge steel is Aogami or Blue paper number 2 reactive high carbon steel. Heat treats around 62 Rockwell on that core steel, and on either side of that hard core cutting edge steel you've got a soft reactive iron cladding, and that cladding is again reactive, as is the core steel, so this is an all reactive blade. The cladding has a blacksmith, what's known as a kudauchi or KU finish on it, and it's also coated with a food safe lacquer on top of that across the entire blade, and that lacquer will wear away as you use the knife, or you can strip it off right off the bat. Some people do with acetone if you just want to pull it off right off the bat. The weights and dimensions on these will vary a little bit from knife to knife. This particular one is 132 grams or 4.7 ounces. Edge length is right about 166 millimeters or about 6.5 inches. The overall length is a little over 12 inches, around 308 millimeters. And then spine thicknesses will vary. This one's about 3.6 millimeters thick at the spine coming out of the handle, but then it thins out really fast. And again, the spine thicknesses will vary from knife to knife, but this one is about 1.7 millimeters halfway down. It pretty much just holds that, and this style of blade has that reverse sword tip, so you hit the corner here, and you can see it gets nice and thin right where the tip comes in, where the grind comes in on the blade. And then it's also pretty thin at the edge. I used this one and the Santoku, and I sharpened them both with the full progression, and the steel sharpened up very nicely. Got wicked sharp, so it's a good sharpening steel. Aogami number 2 is nice, and then it has a little bit more alloying elements. Has some nice edge retention, but yet it's still pretty darn easy to sharpen, and it holds an edge pretty darn nicely as well. So let's see, the blade height is 46.1 millimeters on this. You've got lots of clearance. There's a good spot for your finger right here for a pinch grip. The handles are octagonal. What they characterize as red sandalwood. It looks a lot like walnut. The ferrules on these are cool. They're multicolored, kind of a red and green combo of Paca wood, and Paca wood's a stabilized wood product. And then you've got a pretty tight glue up install where the tang goes into the handle. Handle circumference in this was about 74 millimeters or a little under 3 inches where the two materials meet right there. Balance point on this is going to be just about where that back of the blade, this is called the choil right here, it's right about where the choil is. So in terms of if you pinch grip it right here, it's going to be just a touch handle heavy depending on how you like to hold the blade. But very light, very flickable. It's got a fair amount of stiffness to it. Performance is really quite good. It's not a super skinny laser, but the performance is quite respectable on this and the Santoku. So I'd say the performance is quite good. Went through things nicely, a little bit of food separation on it, and a little bit of food release with the shape of the grind here. You have kind of sharp shoulders, or where the flat of the blade goes into the grind towards the edge. But yeah, nice performing knives. They were a pleasure to use. What else here? I'd say out of the box edge, I'll give it a 5 out of 10 just because there's lacquer over the entire blade, which can get on the edge a little bit. And I'd say the edge is like a 5 out of 10 for me is like an average edge for these style of knives, and this was it. Here, let's get our beauty shot for the video thumbnail. And then close up, you can see on the right side of the blade as you would be using it, holding it, cutting with it. You've got some pushed in embossed kanji and symbol there. A fairly smooth kudauchi finish. It's enhanced by the food safe lacquer, which really makes it smooth. But even when that comes off, it's going to be quite smooth. You do have just enough kind of hammer marks and handmade character to it that you can really see the blacksmith character, but yet a bit of refinement. They've relieved just a little bit of the corners on the spine, and they've got some file work here. It's not highly polished or anything or sanded, but there's file work here on the corners of the choil, which is the back of the blade into the neck, and so it's pretty comfortable out of the box as well. So these have all been straight. The grinds look pretty clean. Here's the edge profile on this Bunka. So here's what it looks like on the cutting board. Pretty low tip on it, which is typical of this knife, so you're not going to get real high on a rock, but that's not what this knife is all about. But you can rock over short stuff. And then you've got a little bit of a flattish area towards the back half of the knife, generally a low belly. So this is really good for chopping, push-pull cutting. It'll do real nice tip draws. Great, you want to cut a pepper or something, boom, 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 boom. You can tip draw through that very nicely with the shape of this blade. It's pretty thin at the tip, so that'd be great for detail work on smaller stuff. So just an excellent all-around implementation here of that style. So I've been pretty impressed with these, and I said the two I've used, this one and the Santoku, have been really good knives. So this is a nice lineup that Mark has brought in to Chef Knives to Go. So this is the Yamashin Awagami or Blue No. 2 Bunka 165mm knife.